Welcome to Insights. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to talk about the grain complex today, specifically wheat and the US dollar, soybeans and corn. It shouldn't have been a surprise that we've had a pullback. These daily readings, which are all now reversed, they're all in the bearish column here, which means they're in the daily trend is down. A few weeks ago, they were all up here. They were generating much higher readings. They were bolded red. They were 3, 4 standard deviations in length. So the daily were stretched. The weekly secondary trends are still up for the grain complex, with the soybeans still leading the way. So this correction is still vulnerable. It could dip into the weekly trend just as easily. And whether or not it has enough energy to do that, well, that's revealed right here in these columns. We can see that corn's energy build is still relatively negative. Soybean is being released to some degree, and wheat is somewhat negative still. We're going to have to take a closer look at that. In terms of the primary trend, everything's still up. The price cycles are here, and they look pretty good. I mean, there's nothing that's really super extended. So everything's below zero with the exception of soybeans, which is 0.2. That's a little bit extended, but nothing much past the mean. All the time cycles are still relatively negative, and that's or negative. That they're right here, and that looks pretty good. So at 7 months and 5 months, in terms of corn, beans, and wheat, the primary trends still have a long way to go. If we take a look specifically at wheat, we can see we lost the daily trend. And we know that for sure by coming back to here. Wheat's been down for 16 days, so this box right here, or unshaded region, is 16 days old. We can see the weekly trend is also starting to turn lower, and we're challenging that zero line. And if we don't pick up soon, or we don't move from here, it's going to take out that, and we're going to lose the weekly alignment up. And so the only thing will be left is the primary trend. The primary trend has more room to run before it goes down to below the zero line. So right now, this correction is largely limited to the daily. It could expand into the weekly, and it's most likely going to stay away from the monthly, but we don't know that for sure until we see how energy behaves during the downward track. And that's what we're going to have to take a look at specifically right now. How much energy do we have left, and how is energy responding here? You can click any one of these charts, but I would click, and we're going to examine the composite grain DI, which includes all action in corn, soybeans, and wheat. And again, the reason we were in trouble, and the reason why I said don't chase and be patient, was because we were pinned down here. The computer highlighted it white, and it's highlighting all the bearish readings below 0.6, so it's anything below this line here. And you can see that that's when, especially for wheat, the other markets haven't corrected as much, but everything's turned down since then. I would compare that to previous periods, maybe in 2008 and others, where the market was pinned in these bearish energy builds. They created these blocking domes, of which then price drifted higher. You can see that in corn here. I extended it back further. But ultimately, these two blocking domes created a consolidated pattern that turned the energy build for the composite grains from bearish to bullish. And for that to happen here today, we would have to take DI mostly above the zero line, and more importantly, we'd probably have to take DI2, which is the yellow line, and we'd have to clear that above the zero line. It doesn't have to be a big spike, but it just has to get above or get close to it. At minus 43, I think we're at. We have a long way to go before this energy releases. How is that going to look? Was it going to look like 2007, 2008? It's possible, but what you can see during this period is it was marked by an upward period, then a sharp break, then an up, then a sharp break again. And ultimately, during these energy builds, or this period that's down here, probably for a good 6 to 7 months, no one really made any money, except for the people who short-term trade, and generally they don't have the discipline to do that. You can do that. The wheat, I mean, I can give an example. Wheat is and we'll go back to the matrix to do that. Wheat wheat's trend moves in and out. So if you want to trade shorter term, you don't have to follow the primary trend. I wouldn't advise shorting the primary trend, especially if wheat's primary trend is up like this. That means there's no short positions. But you can trade in and out of the daily as long as you're not taking a short position daily against the primary trend. So when this comes in and out, you can be short, then long, and modify and adjust your core position relative to the alignment in the daily and the weekly. But the best, safest way to do this is just to follow the evolution of the trade. Go up here and you can click and it'll talk about it, but wait for a reset. Hopefully the reset will take place as the energy build grows. And for that to happen, we have to get these two lines, blue and yellow, up here where more in the circle. So if I carry these forward and move this over, you want to see these two time series be above here, and it takes time to do that. So that could mean that you could see some sawtooth action going in 3 to 6 months from now. I mean, I know that's hard for people to accept, that it's possible that we're entering a period of frustration for the grain market where it's difficult to move, but really we have to release this energy build away. Now we're going to get some data later today, that will change this, but it usually doesn't spike immediately. We can take a look specifically at week's energy build for a closer look at an individual market. We have to get off of this low, got to get above the zero line, and we got to get up of here somewhere with these two time series. That takes time to do that. I mean, there's no easy way around that. And if you want a short-term trade against a uncertain or a bearish energy build, I wouldn't. It's very difficult to fight that against the wheat's primary trend, as you can see, is still up. But my guess is just to hold the primary trend and wait for the setup to release itself. The reason why it's struggling is because the US dollar, and we're going to take a quick look at the major currencies, and we're going to go back to the matrix and we can confirm this. But this bullish energy build is now releasing downwards, which is creating upward pressure in the dollar, which we have long talked about it. I did a dollar review recently. Just watch that. It'll confirm and it'll talk in further detail. But the dollar is in more of a bullish mode right now because this energy build is releasing, and it was a very big energy build. Clearly, one of the largest energy builds that we've seen in multiple years and decades. So it's possible that while it's not going to be a straight line up, that we are turning higher for the dollar as well, which will ultimately be difficult for the commodity markets to trade against that. If the commodity markets hold up and don't go down a lot during a bullish rally in the dollar, that's actually pretty good. So when the energy builds here, move in the opposite direction and get off the zero line and get these DI2s towards zero or higher, then these markets will be properly positioned for a better reset, which will then take the 3 time frames, get them all back up into upside alignment ahead of a better energy build, and you're likely to see a rally that will be sustainable and easy. This rally is anything that you get now is you're swimming against the river or the current against a bearish energy build. And this goes for every market. And this is no different than what we've talked about in the silver market, and it's still unfolding, and the gold market. Except now silver and gold are a little bit further along here, and I suspect that that's what's going to happen in the grains market. If you have any questions about the evolution of the trade or any of these markets here and how it relates to the evolution of the trade in 3 time frames and energy, let me know. You can go follow the links below, go back to the blog and contact me there, or pull the email off the top of the banner that's at the blog and you can contact me. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel below, or you can subscribe to the Matrix and follow this stuff. If you're really interested in the grain markets, you're going to have to watch these energy builds, whether they for each specific market or down here in the composite grain DI. You have to get these 2 numbers positive, and we're not there. I mean, it's going to take time. We're talking probably in terms of weeks/months for this to happen. And if you're forcing a long trade in that, I mean, you can, but frustration tends to evolve. If you're long the core position because you're following the primary trends, which in the case of the grain markets, the primary trends are all up. They're all bullish right here. They're all up and not extended. Then you just get whatever the market gives you until it sets up right. And then when the setup is better and it relieves this energy bill, you can get more aggressive. And then that's the time to strike. And so you're basically waiting for that. And that's why you can't ask me, follow the matrix. The computer will track it. This DI number is updated once a week on Fridays before the markets closes. And my guess is we're going to be watching these closely. If you're a farmer or a grains trader or otherwise and have interest in the market, producer, feed your cattle, anything, you should be watching these energy builds. My guess you'll be watching them through until probably mid to late summer. And you just have to accept that. And when the time is right, I'll be screaming, the time is right. And as you get used to watching this setup within the evolution of the trade and understanding the energy builds, you click these links here for the charts themselves, or you can click here, and they will take you through help files, understand how energy works, how you read that stuff, explain what these numbers mean, WA, DI, DI2. Those are all concepts that are important, but once you get more comfortable with them, you won't need me screaming saying it's time to buy the grains. You'll just know. I mean, you'll know. It'll be confirmed because you'll think, oh, I should be buying the grains, and chances are I'll do a review right there. They'll say the same thing because all I do is follow the matrix just like you do. So thanks for watching the video, and keep watching the grains throughout probably the summer here.